Hello. How's everyone doing? Happy Sunday. Thank you for coming to hang out with me. We are doing an astrology love reading today of Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson. I am so glad that Megan seems to have found love again. I am a Megan fan, okay? I am always going to root for the underdog. I see Megan Thee Stallion as the underdog. You know, any girl that has managed to overcome everything that she's gone through, from losing her mother and then losing her grandmother, who basically helped raise her as a second mother, and still managing to graduate from college all alone, knowing that immediate family was not going to be at her college graduation, and did all this while launching a music career in hip-hop, is a phenomenal human being. There aren't many women alive that can say they know what that's like, to go through all of that and to come out on top. And as all of you know, when she got into hip-hop, as life will have it, she got into a situation with a boy that she thought she liked that ended up being this huge news piece of this boy basically brandishing a weapon and harming her, and him getting her incarcerated as a result of harming her with that weapon. And then some of the media starting a conspiracy theory about how somehow she was at fault for being harmed, and people making fun of her and not having compassion for her. Everything about Megan Thee Stallion is very triggering to the patriarchy. She's tall, she's strong, she's not really trying to be liked. We know how much the world likes that, women that are strong and that aren't trying to be liked. She's really a beast. She's phenomenal in every way, and her music is very inspiring. So I'm glad that she has put all of that behind her, and now she has found love again. So let's look at her chart with this new man that she's with, Klay Thompson, to see about their love compatibility in astrology. Those of you that are here, if you wouldn't mind tapping on the screen, I would really appreciate love compatibility in astrology. Those of you that are here, if you wouldn't mind tapping on the screen, I would really appreciate it. All right, so Megan and Klay Thompson, at first view, seem to have a lot of similarities. He is born on February 8th, and she is born on February 15th. So the two of them are born in the same month, which is incredible. That means those birthday seasons are going to be a lot of fun, okay? So Klay Thompson is an American professional basketball player. He plays for the Dallas Mavericks of the National Basketball Association. He played his first 13th season with the Golden State Warriors, where Thompson was part of the Splash Brothers, okay? Thompson is 35 years old. And Megan Thee Stallion, as you know, is an international superstar. Her mother was a rapper, and she's basically following her in her mother's footsteps. And she, as I mentioned earlier, she successfully graduated from college while also carrying this career. She initially gained recognition when videos of her freestyling began to circulate on social media. And in 2018, she legally got signed into a record deal and started performing. She is 30 years old. So Klay Thompson is 5 years older than Megan Thee Stallion. Now let's get into aspects of their charts. As you probably guessed, Megan Thee Stallion is an Aquarius. That's part of why I like her. I love Aquarian women because these women are uncompromising. It's masculine energy, it's air energy. These women are super smart, super independent, don't want to fit in, don't care to. They do things on their own way with their own rhythm, and it's really nice to see that in the world that often tries to push girls into boxes and force girls to be something that they're not, okay? So she's an Aquarius. He's also an Aquarius. So that's gotta be cool to be dating somebody that's your sun sign, but of course nothing comes without challenges, and we'll get into that a little later. She is also a Leo moon at the 29th degree. Those of you who know about famous astrology, you know that when you see the 29th degree in anybody's chart, you know that means their chances of being famous are really high. So Megan Thee Stallion being famous is predictable when you look at her having, you know, the 29th degree at her moon placement. So astrology could have predicted that Megan Thee Stallion was going to be famous. The other fame degree that she has here that would have predicted fame for her is her Mercury. Her Mercury is at the 5th degree. The 5th degree in astrology is a Leo degree, similar to the 29th degree, but that's the more mature degree. So she has 2 Leo degrees in, you know, the big 3 that screams fame. So there's no way around it. Megan Thee Stallion was going to be famous. That's pretty obvious here. So that's really nice to see that astrology once again is predicting, you know, somebody's future. Moving on from there, he also has a Leo moon at the 7th degree. He has his Mercury though in Capricorn while hers is in Aquarius. Very interesting. So they both have Saturn ruled Mercuries, okay? And they both have Leo moon. So Leo, as you know, is a zodiac sign associated with exposure, with, you know, light, with the sun. So Leo definitely require a lot of attention, and they're very good at keeping it. So big feelings between these two is what I can tell you, but they do it on their terms because that Aquarian sun makes them a bit introverted. So these two are probably introverted, extroverted people where they know how to turn it on, but they actually are most comfortable when they're alone. That's what I can see here. They both have their Venus in Capricorn, which is another very telling karmic placement because Capricorn represents karma in astrology. So when two people have the same Venus placement, it usually speaks to a karmic connection between them. So that's very interesting to see here. Her Jupiter is in Sagittarius, and his Jupiter is in Cancer, okay? Jupiter in astrology tells you how you're going to be successful in this life, basically how you're going to get lucky, what energies are going to bring you a lot of luck. In fact, if you want to bring more luck into your world, it's good for you to surround yourself with people who have your Jupiter at their sun, moon, or rising. These people are going to be the people that bring you the most luck, okay? So for him, it's Cancer energy. For her, it's Sagittarius energy. I will be curious to see down the line if either of them share each other's Jupiter. Jupiter brings abundance. It brings growth. It brings expansion, meaning whatever you have, whenever Jupiter transits into that part of your life, it gets bigger, it gets multiplied. So Jupiter basically multiplies like good energy, okay? Thanks to you guys that are hanging out. If you wouldn't mind tapping on the screen to increase the likes, I would really appreciate it. And thanks for coming to listen to the astrology chart reading of Megan Thee Stallion and Klay Thompson, okay? Moving on to the next placement, which is Saturn. Saturn represents karma in astrology. It's a planet of karma. Her Saturn is in Pisces, and his Saturn is in Capricorn. So they have very complementary Saturn placements, which is really nice. Capricorn is highly compatible with Pisces energy. So these two may actually be very instrumental in helping each other cleanse out their karma, helping each other bring energetic karmic balance into one another's lives. He's a very karmic placement though, because he has his Mercury in Capricorn, his Venus in Capricorn, his Mars in Capricorn, as well as his Saturn in Capricorn, Uranus in Capricorn, and Neptune in Capricorn. Oh my God. This man is a karmic from hell. Yikes. That's a lot of Capricorn energy. My goodness. She has a lot of Saturn influences too, though. So perhaps that's how they're able to connect. She has her Sun in Aquarius, her Mercury in Aquarius, her Saturn in Capricorn, her Uranus in Capricorn, and Neptune in Capricorn. When we're talking about stelliums in astrology, we're looking at personal planets, meaning we're not looking at Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. We're just looking at the personal planets. In this case, since I don't know these people personally and I don't know what time they were born, I can't really speak to their rising sign, but I can speak to the 5 placements that they have. And these 5 placements are very loaded with Saturn energy for both of them. So for Megan, it's Aquarius, Sun, Leo, Moon, Mercury in Aquarius, Venus in Capricorn, Mars in Leo. Okay, so we've got 2 Leo, and the other 3 are Capricorn. The other 3 are Capricorn and 2 Aquarius, which is Saturn, and Uranus in the case of Aquarius, and Leo. As you know, Leo and Aquarius are sister signs, so the next 20 years are going to be very interesting for the 2 of them together. Now for Klay Thompson, his sun is in Aquarius, his moon is in Leo, his Mercury is in Capricorn, his Venus is in Capricorn, and his Mars is in Capricorn. So Klay Thompson is a Capricorn stellium. This is what we call a stellium in astrology. It means you have 3 or more placements in your 2 or more placements in your personal planets that are in the same zodiac sign. So having your Mercury, your Venus, and your Mars all in Capricorn speak to him being a Capricorn stellium. That means he is somebody that gives out karma. Klay Thompson is a karmic. The good news is Megan is also a karmic because she has her Aquarius sun and Mercury. Yes, she's not a stellium in Aquarius or in Capricorn, but she is a karmic because she has Saturn at the sun, which really speaks to having that energy kind of color your chart. If I knew their rising signs, I would be able to say a little more about whether she is a stellium or not. Okay, so moving on to some of the other non-personal placements, and those will be like the group placements. So I mentioned earlier her Jupiter is in Sagittarius, his is in Cancer. Then her Saturn is in Pisces, his is in Capricorn. Her Uranus is in Capricorn, his is in Capricorn. Okay, now this is very interesting. We're gonna have to circle back to that a little bit later. Okay, her Neptune is in Capricorn, his is in Capricorn. Okay, her Pluto is in Sagittarius and his is in Scorpio. I'm not seeing that he has any Sagittarius energy in his chart because his North Node is in Aquarius, his Lilith is in Scorpio, and his Chiron is in Cancer. Her North Node is in Scorpio, her Lilith is in Gemini, and her Chiron is in Virgo. Whew. Okay, so what does this tell me? Let's start with a conversation about karma. Since these 2 are karmics, it makes sense that that's where we want to start. And what I mean about the conversation about karma is we need to understand, why did these 2 come into each other's lives? Why did God bring these 2 together? What are they here to teach each other, that other people could not have taught them? So Saturn, the planet of karma, hers is in Pisces, which is about spirituality and the common good. Pisces energy is about infinite compassion. It's the epitome of one love. So meaning that, when your Saturn is in Pisces, you're here to be a very loving and gentle soul. You're here to take care of people that are disenfranchised. You're here to care for those that are marginalized, people that have been pushed to the outskirts of society because of their otherness that society rejects. Okay, I know Megan, being an Aquarius sun, has an inclination or a penchant towards people that are other, so I think she's living in that energy. Pisces energy also requires that we give love from a pure place, meaning that we don't use our emotions to manipulate other people into positions. So that's the main thing, to watch out for a lack of emotional boundaries and to watch out for this need to use other people's hearts or emotions to get what we want. Capricorn at Saturn is very focused on work and success. And the goal for Capricorn and Saturn is to be somebody who has a lot of integrity, somebody that is consistent, dependable, somebody who works really hard for everything that they have, somebody who commits themselves to the journey of success, not just the reward from success, but the journey of growing, of learning, of overcoming challenges, of riding the highs and the lows. Capricorn Saturn is here to basically not quit when things get hard. So with him being Capricorn dominant, like this is the most Capricorn I've ever seen in anybody's chart. Like this man is scary. He's probably scary in a good way, you know. He's probably gonna hold her accountable, you know. He's probably gonna be like a hard ass, honestly. Don't let the light skin fool you in this case. I think this is a guy that's probably very serious, very no nonsense, very confident, very bold. He probably does, you know, he's probably very like meticulous with how he spends his time, very organized. He probably doesn't like a lot of disruptions to his day. He probably minimizes chaos in his life, probably has very strong boundaries with what he allows and what he doesn't allow in his life. With him having Venus in Capricorn, there's a need here to seek stability in relationships. You know, he's 35 years old, so I'm presuming that he's probably at the age where he's starting to think about what kind of life he wants to have, what kind of future he wants to have. This is the type of man that wants to really get married and have kids, honestly. When I see a chart like this, I'm looking for somebody that wants to get married, somebody that wants to have kids, but who's looking for a woman that's different. This is somebody that wants marriage to be fun. Like he wants to marry his best friend. That's what he wants. And he wants them to be together forever. Given that the both of them are Aquarians, I know they know how to be best friends with each other. That's the thing with Aquarius. Aquarius does not want to be in a relationship with somebody that they're not friends with. In fact, that is the requirement for Aquarius. If you cannot be their friend first, there's nothing else that you're going to be able to get out of that relationship. They don't want anything else with you if you cannot give them friendship. Aquarius requires that you give them friendship before they can give you love. Because to them, love is just an extension of a friendship. It's just a friendship caught on fire. A friendship with a lot of passion. That's what love is to an Aquarian. Because there isn't a lot of emotional sensitivity that you're going to get here. You know, a lot of love is very cerebral with Aquarius. It's about ethics. It's about values. It's about being consistent with a worldview. It's about finding your soul in another via, you know, their intellect. So what these two are looking for in love is an intellectual equal, is somebody who doesn't follow the rules, somebody who thinks outside the box, and somebody who takes love very seriously. Venus in Capricorn is very calculated in love. Venus in Capricorn is serious. Venus in Capricorn doesn't play love games. Venus in Capricorn is not interested in any quick love affairs. These are people that like to study people for a long time before they decide to commit to them. Thank you, Buddha, for my gift. I appreciate it. Venus in Capricorn is someone who is a little dry at first when you meet them. They're not somebody who is readily emotionally available. They're also incredibly private people. So the fact that these two have been like spotted on the red carpet together holding hands is very telling. That means they've been dating for quite a while, because two Venus and Capricorn people are not just going to invite strangers into their love life after just a couple of months of dating. Venus and Capricorn take a long time before they decide if the love affair that they're in is worth their energy. They're very picky about what they consider to be, you know, a stable and solid love connection. And they have to put that connection through the test for a long time before they decide that it's worth exposing it to the outside world. You see, these two by nature are extremely private people. So, and I don't know much about Klay Thompson. I don't know what his dating history has been like. I also don't know much about Megan's dating history. In fact, the only thing in terms of dating history that I know is about her and that incident with Tory Lanez, which again, they weren't really dating. It sounds like they were friends with benefits, and it just ended up being this whole big mess. But prior to that, I never heard of much about her dating life. I know she was dating a producer very briefly, but again, you're not hearing about her dating somebody new every couple of months. And that's probably not because people aren't interested in her. It's because she's extremely private when it comes to her heart. She does tend to have like a fantasy outlook that she has about love. So I think in some regards, she's looking for the real thing, and she knows it's going to come slowly. She knows it's going to prove itself over time. She holds love to a very high standard, especially being a Leo moon. Leo moon are like big-hearted when it comes to love. These people want love to be magical. They want love to be over the top. They want love to feel whole. They want it to feel passionate. They want it to really be consuming. Leo moon is not the kind of lover that just wants you to just have a lukewarm approach to love. They need it to be steaming hot, and they want to show you off to everybody. They want you they want you to show them off to everybody. They're very encouraging, very affirming. They're very proud of who they are, very proud of the person they're with. It's important to them that their love be worth celebrating, because to them love is a party. When you have a moon in Leo. So when you couple that with a Capricorn Venus, what you get are people that are very proud, but also very serious. While Leo is very free-spirited and wants to show their heart and open their heart and, be very childlike with how they express love, Capricorn Venus is the opposite. It's very stern, it's very serious, it's very controlled. Capricorn Venus usually won't claim somebody that they like for at least 6 months to a year. These are not people that quickly get into love affairs and just immediately want to share it with the world. The other Capricorn elements with these two that I think are noteworthy is them both, the both of them having Uranus in Capricorn. Uranus is a planet of transformation, not in the sense of, Scorpio transformation, but I mean in the sense of evolution. Uranus is all about breaking out of old, outdated patterns of thinking and being, and accepting or introducing a new way of life. So Uranus in Capricorn is about disrupting the status quo, disrupting established structures, disrupting, society as we know it for the sake of something new. I find it interesting that the two of them having Aquarius at the sun, and as you know, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus and Saturn. So there's a lot of chaos and disruption here with this energy with the two of them. Her having it at the 20th degree, which is the Cancer degree, really speaks to creating a home life that is renewed. Perhaps this is her chance to recreate the home life that she grew up with. Again, I see this man wanting to get married and wanting to have a lot of children. And I see Megan also wanting to get married and wanting to have a lot of children. I'm not sure how much of her career is going to allow for that at this time, but she's certainly at the age where this is important. 30 and 35 is definitely the age to think about those kinds of things, if you are a woman. So what I see for these two is a lifelong committed relationship that produces lots of children and businesses. What I see for these two, if their zodiac signs are positively aspected, is like a business turned into a family turned into a business sort of thing. I see them building a legacy that's going to be lasting for a long, long time. I see their love being enduring. I see their love being long-lasting because it's rooted in genuine care for one another, a genuine friendship where they allow each other to be their weird little selves, trying out different things, discovering who they are as they grow older together. He has his Neptune in Capricorn, and she also has her Neptune in Capricorn. So there's also a lot of like religiosity here with her, which is very surprising to see, because she has her Venus at the 12th degree, which is Pisces degree, her Jupiter at the 12th degree, Pisces degree, her Saturn at the 12th degree, Pisces degree, and her Neptune at the 24th degree, Pisces degree. Megan is a very spiritual person. I did not know this. So she's going to be introducing him to a depth, a spiritual depth that he's never experienced before. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that she's religious. I'm saying she has a deep relationship with spirit, with the spirit realm, with spirituality. Megan is a magical being, is what I see in her chart here, especially with her being an Aquarius at the sun. Aquarius is a magician in astrology, so Megan can make anything happen just by wanting it. She has to desire something and set her sight on it, and when she does that, anything happens for her. Oh, and here's another element of this that proves my point. Her Pluto is at 0 degrees in Sagittarius. Sagittarius is about luck, it's about growth, it's about expansion. The 0 degree in astrology is a degree of anything can happen. It's the purest, most rawest, degree of any zodiac placement. So Megan is truly a very powerful energetic force when it comes to her manifestation abilities. And he's going to be benefiting from that because his Pluto is in Scorpio. So she's definitely going to be helping him become a super manifester. I think he believes that manifestation only happens if you work hard at everything you're doing, because he's a Capricorn stellium. And she believes that you have to love what you're doing with your whole heart. Yes, you have to work hard, but you also have to trust in the universe, trust in God, trust in your ancestors, trust in the spirit realm, trust in your angels, trust that the universe is aligned to help you, trust that all of life is here to help you, trust that everything that happens is supposed to happen because the universe is in perfect alignment at all times. You have to trust that everything that happens, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, is happening for you. And there's something good in it that you can use to better your situation. And I think her spirituality, now that I'm looking at her chart, is probably how she was able to overcome all of that. Being a young girl, losing her mother, and then losing her grandmother, basically being orphaned, trying to graduate college, getting into the rap business, trying to get out of her first, business contract that she signed because they were taking advantage of her, and then finding herself at Rock Nation and trying to build her career from there. It's been a lot of turmoil that she's had to deal with, which explains it because her Pluto is in Sagittarius. As you know, Sagittarius is a mutable zodiac sign in astrology. It's a fiery zodiac sign. Sagittarius is constantly growing and evolving and changing. So Sagittarius Pluto is somebody who's always going through some sort of transformation. Mutable zodiac signs at the Pluto are not people that are going to be stagnant. It's really about trying on different hats, taking on different identities, trying on different energies, if you will. And then finding out from experience. A big part of Megan's life is exactly about that. It's about finding out from experience what works for you and what doesn't work for you. Like defining yourself based on experience, not just history. This is what she's here to work on. She's here to work on releasing some of her history in favor of what experience is teaching her about life. Because in reality, she's actually quite attached to her history, to her past, to her heritage, to her family of origin, to her culture. And I'm not saying that she's here to get rid of all of it. I'm saying she's here to keep the parts that are healing, that are helpful, and to release the parts that aren't. That's what she's here to work on. She's here to learn how to break out of that box if the box feels too restrictive, okay? But the one aspect of this that I can see is consistent is a love for family. She's here to really focus on rebuilding family after losing her own. Okay? So that's basically it in terms of the main placement. Now let's move on to North Node. In astrology, the North Node is your destiny point. 1 second. Alright, the North Node basically points you towards which direction you want to be going in life. So if you're not sure what your destiny is, if you're not sure why you were born, if you're not sure why you came to Earth, if you're not sure what you should be working on, I need you to start by looking at your North Node, because your North Node is going to tell you what you're here to focus on, what you're here to do, what energy you're here to embody. And hers is in Scorpio, and it's at the Sagittarius degree. So there's a lot of spiritual energy here again that she's here to embody, and a lot of it is via her sexuality, which, you know, as if you know Megan Thee Stallion and you know her music, she's very open in that regard. This is something that she needs to get through in order to become the woman that she's supposed to be. She's here to let go of beliefs, systems that she grew up with around sex and sexuality, and she's here to evolve from that place and really get into an energy that feels more in line with what she believes to be true. Okay, many of us grew up with belief systems that we thought were true when we were little, but then when we got older, we tried on different things and we realized that we liked different things, so then we became more open to different things as a result. One thing that comes to mind as I'm saying this, I remember there was a court case recently against Megan Thee Stallion. I believe one of the people that worked on her team was suing her because they said that she was having relations with another woman in the backseat of the car when all of them were in the car together. And I think, you know, being a young black girl from Houston, Texas, I'm sure these are not things that, you know, were encouraged when she was growing up, as far as like being that open with the world, with yourself, with your body, with your mind. So Megan is really here to break out of that box when it comes to like messages that were given to her really to control her. You know, she's here to recognize like which part of this was control and which part of this was love. Sometimes people want to control you, but they make you think they're giving you love, so that you think that their intentions are pure when they're really not. Okay. And unfortunately, a lot of society is that, you know, it's a lot of control that sometimes, you know, gets wrapped up in lies. Like, you know, people say, oh, it's for your own good, but really it's so that they don't feel uncomfortable, because another alternative would make them feel uncomfortable. So whatever Megan is here to do in the world, you know, involves her breaking rules, breaking a lot of rules. You know, Scorpio is a weird zodiac sign in astrology. So is Aquarius. Both Uranus, which is the ruling planet of Aquarius, and Pluto, the ruling planet of Scorpio, do not spin correctly. And by correctly, I don't mean that there's a right or wrong way to spin, although I know the word correctly alludes to that. But what I mean is that they don't spin on their axis the way the other planets do. If you were to observe Uranus spinning and Pluto spinning, you would notice that they're a little tilted to the side. So these two planets spin on the side as opposed to spinning up and down. So the other ones are sitting up and down and spinning around, and Pluto and Uranus are spinning on the side of their axis. So that in and of itself brings a lot of revolutionary energy to these two. For Scorpio, it's more of a revolution within and behind closed doors. And for Aquarius, it's a revolution outside and in front of the world. So given that she is an Aquarius sun and a Scorpio North Node, Megan is definitely here to revolutionize messages around like femininity, around power, around control, around aggression, around power plays, around dominance. You know, there's a whole lot of that she's had to deal with, that she's here to unlearn, and that she's here to teach other girls, because that's the other thing. With having all this like Saturnian energy in her chart, that means she's also here to kind of be the blueprint, to kind of set a tone for future generations about who they can be, what they can be, and what they can do with their lives, you know, and like about free will, about the right to choose for yourself what feels appropriate and what doesn't, and the right to decide for yourself what kind of life you want to have. as opposed to letting other people dictate for you what kind of and what doesn't, and the right to decide for yourself what kind of life you want to have, as opposed to letting other people dictate for you what kind of life you should. Listen to her music. Even when you listen to Megan Thee Stallion's music, you can hear that there is an energy here of non-compliance. You know, you can hear that she doesn't want to behave the way girls are supposed to behave. She doesn't want to, and she doesn't care to. And she's not concerned about whose feathers get ruffled, because she wants to be who she wants to be. So that energy is even heard in her music. And I think it really speaks to her on embodying the energy that she was here to embody, which is non-compliance. Because for both Scorpio and Aquarius, the theme is non-compliance. It's about being true to yourself. It's not about blending in. It's not about people liking you. It's not about being liked. You know, in fact, Uranus and Pluto couldn't care less what you like. They couldn't care less how you feel about what they like. Those two planets are very destructive. You know, for Scorpio, it's about destroying like messages that you receive that keep you enslaved, that somehow you've tricked yourself into believing were messages of love, but really it was about controlling you. Like a lot of, if you're born female, you know what I'm talking about. And then for Aquarius, it's about, you know, breaking or destroying messages that society gives you about who you are and what makes you worthy of humanity and what doesn't. That this is why Pluto and Aquarius is bringing up all these conversations, these tough conversations about who deserves humanity and who doesn't, who deserves healthcare and who doesn't, who deserves freedom and who doesn't, who deserves protection and who doesn't. Like all these conversations are coming because Aquarius, being ruled by Uranus, is about that. It's about revolution. It's about changing messaging. It's about rewriting the story in terms of like authenticity being what rules. Okay. Moving on to Lilith. Lilith in astrology is an energy that makes you powerful, but that also gets you rejected. Okay? Those of you who know about the story of Lilith in the old, you know, spiritual books of Judaism, you know, if you're Jewish, you know what I'm talking about. If you're not Jewish, the story of Lilith is that Lilith was the first wife of Adam before Eve. And Lilith did not want to submit to Adam. She wanted to be her own independent woman, and Adam did not want that. So what ended up happening is Lilith ended up running away to go to the wilderness, and that's where she grew. That's where her powers grew. That's where she became free, living on her terms. So your Lilith placement is going to be what people hate the most about you, because it's a placement that makes you ostracize. Okay? Lilith always makes you ostracize. It makes you shunned. When you choose to exercise your Lilith, a lot of people are going to judge you. A lot of people are going to shun you. A lot of people are not going to accept. But at the same time, it's the energy that you need to ignite so that you can have magnetism. It's what makes you attractive. It's what people admire about you. It's what people want a part of. They want a piece of it. They hate it, but they love it. They hate it because you're not following the rules. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. They hate it because you're going against the grain, but they love it because they wish they had the courage to be that person and to do those things. So for Megan, it's in Gemini. So people hate it when Megan speaks from the heart. Whenever she expresses her feelings, people get really triggered because they know when she's speaking it's the truth. So they don't want to hear it because it makes them feel uncomfortable. Because when they hear it, like she's demanding her humanity and she's demanding her respect. And they inherently don't want to believe that she deserves any. So naturally, they don't want to hear her, you know, they don't want to hear her speak. People don't like hearing Megan speak. If you're Megan Thee Stallion, I need you to know that your voice is very threatening to the institution. They don't want to hear you speak, especially when you speak from your emotions. Because people know when they're treating you poorly. People know when they're not giving you the same energy you're giving back. People know when they're not giving you the respect, the love. They know when they're not giving you the protection. And because you're so strong, They feel like you don't deserve it. They feel like they can leave you out to dry and you can fend for yourself. And you may have noticed that in the whole Tory Lane situation. Did you notice how many people came out against her, even though all the evidence points to the fact that she was truly shot? And he even admitted to it. You know, there's evidence that he admitted to having harmed her, and people are still coming out and saying, no, it's her fault. Somehow, you know, the conspiracy theory took over all of their sensibilities, where they're unable to see that she was harmed. And this is in part because her energy is so commanding. It's so masculine, because Aquarius is a masculine zodiac sign, so Aquarian women are often perceived to be masculine. And when you're a woman who has masculine energy at the top, who's masculine dominant, society is going to hate you because you're not acting feminine. You're not acting like a pretty little princess who needs to be rescued. So when things happen to you that are harmful, they don't want to give you sympathy because they feel like you don't deserve it, because you're not acting like this has happened to you that are harmful. They don't want to give you sympathy because they feel like you don't deserve it, because you're not acting like the script. You're not following the script. You're not acting like a woman that deserves protection. And secondly, they also feel like you're so strong that you should be able to handle anything. So people leave you out to dry and they expect you to fend for yourself. So when you speak about the betrayals and the abandonment and the fact that people are acting out of this conditioning that keeps them from having humanity towards you, they don't want to hear it, even though you're right. So keep speaking, even though they don't like it, okay? His Lilith is in Scorpio, so for him it's about transformation, like soul transformation. I don't know much about him, so I can't really speak to how that will come up, but some of the themes around Scorpio energy are around death and rebirth. Sometimes it's physical death, sometimes it's spiritual death, but it's going to involve some sort of drastic change, you know. Usually, you know, Scorpio energy comes with loss, and out of that loss, something is reborn. So I'm not sure if it's like a loss of his career, or if it's a loss of a family member, or if it's a loss of a public image. Because it's at the 10th degree, I see a loss of a public image as being the theme. So maybe this relationship is going to change his perception and change his focus. It may even change his relationship with spirituality, especially because it's that Scorpio. Scorpio is the very first spiritual zodiac sign, so there's something to that energy as well. I'm curious to see how that plays out over time. You know, again, I don't know his dating history, so I don't know what type of women he was into. All right, so back to Megan and Klay Thompson. I don't know his dating history. I don't know what type of women he was into prior to Megan, but what I do know is that in order for him to be with Megan, he's gonna have to get more comfortable with his sexuality. And that's basically it, you know, because for her, that's something that she already understands and she's very good at. And it's something he's gonna have to be good at, especially if he grew up in an environment where he was made to feel like that was dirty, that was bad, that was wrong, that's something you should be ashamed of, and that sort of thing. I can see here though that he had a very good mom. So there's a lot of blessings here with his mom. His mom is a wonderful mother. Again, I don't know anything about this guy. I don't even know what his mom looks like, but I can see here that his mom is a wonderful mother. I'm not sure sometimes what that can look like is a mom who is wonderful, but who's also kind of overbearing. Not because she's a bad person, but because she wants to protect him. Obviously, him making it to the NBA means his parents did what they were supposed to do successfully. But it may have been that he has some issues with femininity, with women because of his relationship with his mom. And I see that here with him having his Chiron in Cancer. There's definitely some healing that needs to happen here with regards to his mother and the kind of relationships he's allowed to have. My intuition is telling me that growing up, his mother really controlled like who he was allowed to socialize with, what type of friends he was allowed to have, and what type of friends he was not allowed to have. It looks like he grew up in a very strict home with very rigid rules about who was in and who was out. So I think part of what Megan is bringing him is an opportunity for him to heal some of the toxicity. You know, we all grew up with toxicity, you know, so I'm not trying to make it seem like it's just him. We all have received messages in our childhood that were not in harmony with our best adult selves, but those messages were messages that our parents had at the time that helped us become who we are. So we're not saying it's all bad, but we're not saying it's all good either. We're saying part of the healing process when you become an adult is to be able to figure out which part did I receive from mom that was like stuff coming out of her own fears, her own insecurities, her own desire to protect me, just being too protective, and which part was really like love, because again, control and love can look similar depending on how you grew up, and he grew up with a lot of control but a lot of love. Okay, a lot of control but a lot of love. So it may be that he naturally, the kind of women that he's attracted to are not women that his mother is into. Like the kind of women that his mom likes for him may not necessarily be the kind of women that he's into, is what I'm getting at. Okay, so I definitely see that here, that we have a strong motherly presence and a mom who definitely wants him to center her, in his social circle. Okay, that's what I see here. Her Chiron is in Virgo, so for her it's more about like a lot of messages about purity, a lot of messages about being innocent, being virginal. So she also received a lot of messages around control, which is probably why the two of them connected very well. Virgo and Cancer are compatible because they're both feminine. And for Megan, it's also a lot of messages around like health and mental health. I suspect that Megan grew up with family members that had health issues, a lot of health issues, perhaps even mental health issues. Those of you who know Megan's life, I don't know much about her life outside of what I shared in this live, but let me know, did her mom or grandmother, did she have other family members that struggled with health issues? I see that here. I see health issues being something that she had to deal with at a young age, and it really taught her about the importance of like taking care of yourself and being protective of yourself. So it's possible that one of the things that brought them together was this need to like protect each other, keep each other healthy and strong, and really like mother each other in a way, because both Cancer and Virgo are very much so about routine, very much so about the home, very much so about keeping, the home environment stable, predictable. So if these two were actually engaged in their healing work, again, I don't know them personally, but I see a lot of opportunities here to deal with issues related to their relationship with the mothers in their lives, whether it's like the physical mother or the theoretical mother in the case of Megan, like a grandmother or the aunties and that sort of thing. Okay, so that's pretty much all the data that I have on them. I don't have their rising sign, so I can't get into the houses between them. But I want to look to see about their Saturn placements. Let's see, since they're pretty Saturn dominant, I feel like there's a story here with their Saturn in terms of why they were brought together. So let's see. Let's start with Saturn. Okay, so her Saturn is sextile his Neptune, so they're gonna make she's gonna make his dreams come true. Her Saturn is trine his Pluto. She's definitely gonna change his life. Her Neptune is conjunct his Saturn. Yes, he has the discipline and she has the vision for them to make their dreams come true. Okay, so far it's looking like these two are going to help each other grow. Let me look at their Uranus, since they both have Uranus at the sun. Her Venus is conjunct his Uranus in Capricorn. As you know, whenever you have a conjunction, it means naturally there's going to be good and bad, because there's so much similarities here that it can be hard to find originality in each other, because they're so similar. And when you have this kind of intensity, it can create a long-lasting relationship if you're willing to dig deep, if you want to get past like skimming the surface. So these two are going to have to do a lot of deep emotional work together, because Capricorn is very karmic and so is Aquarius. So these two have a karmic connection. A karmic connection is always going to feel familiar because you've done it before in previous lifetimes, and that's why you're so familiar. But the reason you're here generally is because there is more work that needs to be done around the relationship to create stability, to create fairness. With these two, they're here to learn how to be free thinkers. They're here to open up each other's minds. They're here to understand their ideas both from a practical and a spiritual perspective. They're here to let their imagination and their brilliance shine. There is a lot of attraction here because there's a lot of similarity. There's a lot of magnetism here. There's a lot of intensity here, and there's a propensity for a very long-lived romance with these two. If they play this right, they could be each other's like lifelong story. This could be the basically the love story they've all been waiting for. Now let's go ahead and wrap this up as some of the loving aspects between these two. I want to see placements that are positive for them. Let's see. All right, so they both have the same sun sign. Let's see. Yeah, overall, they have a lot of easy aspects. They do have some conflict, a little bit of emotional pain. Exact aspects are very similar, right? They have 4 of those. Passion aspects, a lot of passion here with Venus and Uranus. It's a very different type of love. The two of them have never had a love like this, especially having the same sun and the same moon and the same Venus. You know, talk about karmic. So overall, this is going to be a very easy, loving relationship because they give a mirror to each other. Again, it's a lot of similarities here. It's a lot of ease with understanding each other, a lot of ease with seeing each other exactly as they are. I love that Megan was born under a full moon, so every full moon she has a very spiritual experience, I'm sure, which is really nice. So let's summarize the prospect for these two. I think these two are going to be in a very long-lasting relationship if they're willing to engage with the work. The only thing that could stand in the way is if they don't really want to commit to the process of unpacking each other's traumas, because these are karmics. Their whole chart is just karma, 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 karma. A lot of karma, and he has the most. So that tells me he has more trauma than her. So he has to be willing to join her in unpacking that loss and that grief. And if they're willing to do that in a space that is harmonious, and if they're willing to treat each other like they're each other's best friends, and they're willing to be kind, respectful of each other, if they're willing to create a space where they can openly communicate about their feelings, about their thoughts, about their wants, if they can really be real with each other behind closed doors about how they really feel without feeling the need to like control, manipulate, or dominate each other, I think they will be fine. In fact, I see them getting married. I see them having lots of babies together and also growing an empire together. That's what I see here. With her North Node in Scorpio, she's a hard worker and people are going to remember her for many years to come. Megan is a success story. There's no other way around it. She's a magician. And with him having his North Node in Aquarius, he's definitely here to come in harmony with himself. This whole life story for him is about being authentic to himself and breaking away from his family legacy. He's here to create a new legacy that's very different from the legacy that he was born in. Now, that doesn't necessarily require that he rejects the legacy he was born in, but it does require that he be willing to update it, because the way his parents did love and family and business is very different from the way he's going to have to do it to be successful. And what's going to be required for him is for him to really improve his relationship with women by being willing to see them more as collaborative partners as opposed to adversarial partners. And for her, it's going to require that she be willing to accept the good with the bad. It's not about perfection, but it's about momentum. With every mistake, we learn something new and we try to do it better the next time. With the kind of chaotic history that she's had, I wouldn't be surprised if his family, has opinions about her that are not necessarily favorable. If he really wants this relationship, he's going to have to stand up for her and protect her, which is something she hasn't had a lot of, that she really needs, honestly. Protect her emotionally, especially with the Leo moon. She has big feelings and she needs somebody that gives her inner child a safe space to feel her feelings. If he's willing to give her some of this maternal energy, I think she's going to be loyal to him for the rest of her life, because Aquarius, when they find their person, it's for life, basically. And the same goes for Capricorn, okay? Unless, of course, the person is disloyal, and that changes the whole thing. So that's what I have from Megan and Klay. I wish them all the best. I'm so happy my girls finally found somebody that, likes her and that's treating her right from what we can see so far. I wish them many, many, many years of love. What do you guys think of this couple? Leave your comments and let me know. Thank you so much for coming to hang out on this live while I did a chart review of Megan and her new boo. All right, you have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye. You can book your astrology reading at intuitivehealing.com. You can also watch videos at Intuitive Healing here on YouTube for Astrology 101 content. Listen to the Aquarius podcast on Spotify, as well as here on YouTube for your horoscope. If you're interested in astrology and love connections, you can visit at styled under Libra. And of course, for health and wellness and holistic healing, visit at styled under Virgo for all of your astrology content. Thanks so much for watching.